Hi, I'm back again to yap with you guys with my front camera and my one microphone in hand. Today, we are going to talk about the movies that I watched this year. I'm going to rate them, not all, because I watched nearly about 80 90 movies. It's humanly impossible for me to rate 90 movies in one video. That's not how committed I am. But if you are a cineholic, whatever, movieaholic like me, this video is probably for you. Please keep on watching because we are going to rate and review half the movies that I've seen this year. So let's get started, shall we? For your reference and for my reference, I do have all the movies. I will show them to you in a moment. So this is my iPad and I have the list of the movies that I watched this year, and we're going to rate and review them all together for you. This is the part 1. If you want part 2 coming out, comment down in the comment section just writing part 2. If you like the video, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing. That would help support the channel very much. Thank you. With that out of the way, let's get started. The first movie that I'm going to talk about is called The Maid, right? So this is a very gut-wrenching kind of a movie portraying the struggle of a young mother and her daughter. She is stuck in this very abusive and toxic marriage with a toxic husband who, while dating, she did not realize that this man could be this toxic. But yeah, things go very, very downhill from the time that they get married and they have this daughter. The husband is kind of a gaslighter and a manipulator and is downright abusive, mostly mentally and psychologically, rest of the times emotionally and physically at times too. um, it's a series. I think it has got about 9 or 10 episodes, and I remember watching this entire series in one go. It's a must watch. I would give this a 4.5 out of 5 because it portrays the real life scenario of how this young woman, she tries and survives in the capitalistic and very corporate like American world, with nothing but, really nothing but her daughter by her side. Sometimes she works these odd jobs like, you know, cleaning somebody's home or just ending up in a domestic violence shelter. Yeah, it's a very heart-wrenching series, but please watch till the end to know what happens to her and the path that she chooses to take finally, because she was multiple times gaslighted by her husband. Yeah, so that is The Maid. It's, you should watch it. The next movie that we're going to talk about is, let's talk about Materialists. So Materialists is a movie that came out very recently. So if you don't know, Dakota Johnson has played the role of a protagonist in the movie, and she describes how the dating pool is, and she is a matchmaker in the movie, and she makes about 80 grand per year. And while she makes these matches for other people based on what they want, the height, the color, the job, the whatever, she herself is very conflicted because she feels very kind of stunted and conflicted. She does not know what she wants in her life in terms of marriage, because the movie shows her past relationship with her ex-boyfriend, who she was really in love with, but then the boyfriend really could not financially contribute to the relationship much because he was I don't know, he was trying to be a singer songwriter slash band member, but didn't really become successful that much. So he was working odd jobs, and it was becoming financially difficult for them to sustain the relationship, and hence the breakup. But even when Dakota, she enters this new relationship with a rich man, and a supportive one at that, and she lives with him, and she starts dating with him and sleeping with him, she still finds herself very kind of dissatisfied with her life, and she realizes that this is not the life that she really wants for herself. Yeah, Materialists is a very interesting take on modern dating, especially dating in cities in the 21st century, and what it is like to enter a relationship and to sustain one. So I would give it a solid 4 out of 5 from my side. Also, the cinematography and the outfit choices, and the filmmaking process itself is very interesting. The next movie we are going to talk about is also not a movie. These are all, by the way, available on Netflix if you're interested. Netflix, if you're watching this, feel free to sponsor me. I'm just kidding anyway. We are going to talk about a series called The Sirens. So, now this one is an interesting movie. Series, I'm sorry. I keep on saying movie. So, what is The Sirens about? It's basically a kind of a series where two sisters, they live with their one old, frail, and ailing father, who is really on his last straw. But one of the sisters, she is very ambitious, and she moves out of the home one day. She also happens to be kind of not really physically abused, but emotionally and psychologically abused by the same ailing father. So, because of her trauma and everything that um, played into the making of this sister, she moves out and she goes to this one remote place, and she works for a very ultra rich kind of a family, and it almost becomes like a commune where all of the maids, they kind of have to dress up like dress up a certain way and talk a certain way and be a certain way. And once the other sister finds that out, she goes absolutely crazy. She goes haywire. She comes and tries to rescue her, but the other girl, she does not listen. So you should just watch the series to find out how much somebody from one perspective can be psychologically manipulated into believing that something is good for them. On the other hand, how much somebody really wants to escape their old life in search for a new meaning in life, which reminds me of the book called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Anyway, the next movie that we are going to talk about is Metro in Dino. Metro in Dino is a Hindi Bollywood film. I think it's a retake on Metro in Dino that was shot, I don't know, back in, I guess, a few years back. I guess, put it in the captions how many years back. But we see Sara Ali Khan and um, Aditya Kapoor, I think, Aditya Roy Kapoor, who are playing the lead roles here. It's a good movie. It's not a very fantastic movie. The chemistry is there. I wouldn't say it's not there, but it could have been better. But as of now, um, it's okay. It's good. I would give it a solid 3 out of 5. You can go watch that. But out of all the movies that I talked about, if you really have to watch something, please do watch either The Maid. I will put the posters here, or you can watch Materialists. It's either of them. All of them are really good, but these are especially gripping and interesting and intriguing. The next movie that we are going to talk about is, let's talk about Spirited Away. So, Spirited Away is quite interesting because these are all Studio Ghibli films, and these are films that are very close to my heart. One of them is Spirited Away, one of them is Whisper of the Heart, another one is My Neighbor Totoro. Okay, guys, for a brief amount of time I was distracted, but we are back with our list of movies that we are rating, reviewing, and kind of describing for you to see which ones are worth your time and energy. By the way, a short interval to just say who I am, just in case you're curious. If you're not, please bear with it. My name is Procheta, Procheta. I don't want to hear the distortions that have ever been prevalent. I've been called Pracheta, Prachita, Prochita. I'm Procheta, and yeah, I study in Bethune right now. I'm in the third year. I'm pursuing a degree in English honors, English literature, not English grammar. And yeah, I mostly spend my time analyzing T.S. Eliot, Sylvia Plath, sometimes the old classics, Mayor of Casterbridge, Rape of the Lock, you know, Pope, Dryden, all of them. Sometimes modernists like Sylvia Plath, T.S. Eliot, Virginia Woolf, maybe Philip Larkin, Tagore, Arundhati Roy, different people, different perspectives, different minds. Anyway, I took literature because I loved it very much. I still do. I love literature, and yeah, thereby, I think as an after effect, I love movies very much. So this YouTube channel is kind of centered around books, movies, and lifestyle. So either you will see me posting book reviews, or you'll see me posting um, maybe a few hauls, or either that or books and movies. Mostly about books and movies. Okay, now the interval is over. That was just a short intro about me. Thank you. Thank you for bearing with me. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Let's come back. Um, so Studio Ghibli is a kind of um, it's a genre by itself, and I take a moment to say that because I still am very skeptical about animated movies, especially Japanese or Chinese animated movies. That's not a racist statement. I'm just trying to say I'm really skeptical about animated movies in general. I was. But once I found Studio Ghibli, I think my entire perception of the creators of these movies really changed, because I feel Hayao Miyazaki, who's the creator of Studio Ghibli, he just put his soul and heart and body and blood and mind and bones and muscles and everything that he's got. He has put it all into the craftsmanship of these movies. I have watched approximately, I guess, 15 to 16 of Studio Ghibli movies. You name it, I watched it. Um, but one of my most favorite movies, which I'm going to recommend to you today, two of them actually, okay, many maybe. Um, Number one is Spirited Away. So, if I have to talk about Spirited Away, so what Hayao Miyazaki does is he merges the mundane with the magical, the discarded with the divine. His creations are absolutely magical. You would think it's like a Murakami novel. So, for those of you who are familiar with Haruki Murakami, he is also a Japanese author and writer who used to own a bar before, and who was extremely obsessed with jazz and classical music. But once he started writing, he found out his passion for it, and he also kind of merges the mystical along with the mundane, the magical along with the mundane, philosophical things along with just the daily rigmarole of life. So, if you really have to watch something, please watch Spirited Away. Spirited Away is one of those movies which stayed with me forever. I watched it thrice, and it's one of my comfort movies. And I really cannot explain what it is about. You really need to go into it and check it out. Let this be a Let this be your sign to explore and discover Studio Ghibli all by yourself. Um, but basically, Spirited Away, in a nutshell, I'm not giving any spoilers, is about a family, a mother, a father, and their daughter who has kind of gone out for a vacation, a family vacation. On the way, they stop at a cave, and once they enter the cave, the girl is very skeptical and cynical. She does not want to enter it. She's kind of afraid, and she gets these negative vibes from there. But her mother and father are very insistent. Once they enter the cave, they find this beautiful carnival, a kind of a discarded amusement park over there, which transforms itself into a completely new and magical world. So it is really an escape from reality, but not in a bad way. It's one hell of a world that you need to discover for yourself. It will make you believe more in magic. It will make you trust more in the fact that there is much more than what we see and what we feel and what we hear through the five senses. There's much more to discover beyond the mind that we are still not aware of. You must go and check these out. Okay, the next movie that we're going to talk about is another Studio Ghibli movie. It is called My Neighbor Totoro. If you haven't watched that movie, my dear God, what are you doing? Because it's a fantastic movie. It is probably one of the top 5 movies I have ever watched. Yeah, and it does not even include human actors, it's just an animated movie. It's just nothing, it's about nothing. It's just an ordinary family who have moved to this countryside house, which was for so long it was just there existing. So there are these soot balls everywhere. There's this little girl. She explores the house on her own, and there's her elder sister. Both of these sisters, they have tremendous amount of fun, and the house is kind of seated within a forest, which makes it all the more interesting because now the twin sisters, they're not twins, well, they're sisters. So these sisters, they start exploring the forest more and more, and the little one comes across this spirit, the spirit of the forest, which is not visible to everybody. The spirit of the forest is only visible to those who are really pure and innocent by heart, right? So she discovers this spirit of the forest called Totoro, and she gets so excited every time she sees, the beast. It's a magical beast, right? And she is so amused by it. But her mother is kind of in a hospital and she's ill, and for the rest of the movie, you need to find out what happens, right? But it's such an ordinary movie, but it's probably the best movie I've ever seen. I just love it so much. I've watched it 3 to 4 times by now. I can't get over the animation and the kindness and the love and the craftsmanship which went into the movie. Oh my god, I can rave about it my whole day. Okay, so that is all of the Studio Ghibli movies get a 5 out of 5 from me because there's nothing on which I can deduct points. Especially Hayao Miyazaki's portrayal of women is something that I would like to emphasize and re-emphasize, because he never objectifies women, he never sexualizes women, he never commodifies women or reduces them into objects with bodies. They have, as Joe March said in Little Women, we're capable of love, but we're capable of so much more than that. We have bodies and we have minds and we have souls, and we have a mind and we have an intellect, and we are full-fledged human beings. I like that about his craftsmanship, his penmanship. In all of his movies, um, women are really full-fledged characters. Whichever movie you pick up, a woman is a full-fledged character. She is independent, whether she is working or she's not, whether she's a child, a baby, or an infant, or maybe an old grandmother. She is just a full-fledged human being with not just a body but a mind and a soul, which I love. Moving away from My Neighbor Totoro, let us talk about Whisper of the Heart, which is another Studio Ghibli movie. Why I'm recommending you so many Studio Ghibli movies is because they're really heartwarming. And if you're doing a 9 to 5 job, and if you're really tired and frustrated at your job, you come home really tired, you don't know what to watch, you have Maggie in your cabinet, and you don't want to waste money and order things from outside. At the same time, you want to enjoy, just cook yourself a bowl of Maggie and sit down, switch off all the lights and all the phones in your area, and just sit and watch one of these movies each day. I promise you're going to be at least 70% healed by the time you finish all the movies. I'm not kidding. If you watch them distraction free. So, this is also a guide to um, all the movies that you should watch to heal yourself, to regain your mental sanity and peace and love and joy in your life. Yeah, that should explain most of it. So, you should watch all the movies, but especially the ones that I'm recommending. You must watch them, Studio Ghibli ones. So, Whisper of the Heart, must watch. Another Studio Ghibli movie. Let's recommend them all in one go. Tale of Princess Kaguya. So, Tale of Princess Kaguya and I think Princess Mononoke are two of those movies which you must watch because they are telling you the tales of how a princess lives, but their limitations and their frustrations and their constraints in their own life, because no human's life is perfect. Um, One more Studio Ghibli movie that I am hesitant to recommend you is um, The Grave of Fireflies. This is the last movie that I watched from Studio Ghibli, and the first movie that I actually heard about. When people talk about Ghibli, they talk about Grave of Fireflies, and I never really understood why they call it a tragic movie, but I kind of refrained myself from watching it because I didn't want to get into a deep pit, because most of the times I am also a sad girly. So, yeah, but when I watched it, it's terrifyingly sad. It's tragic. It's not sad. It's, Aristotle, how Aristotle described the concept of a tragic hero. Or what is it that makes a tragedy? If you ever read the definition of it, this is it. You must watch Grave of Fireflies. Um, Basically, it just is about a family who's going through a war in Japan, probably the World War, either one or two, I don't know which one, but they're going through the World War, and some drastically tragic events take place in their life, and I want you to watch it. The person, one of the Annas that I'm associated with, because I volunteer for Isha, I told him to watch the movie. He came back to me a week later and he said, Akka, which movie did you recommend? I couldn't watch the movie. I stopped it midway. I was like, no, watch the whole movie for the whole impact. He was like, I can't. That's how tragic it is. So you must watch the movie. Um, but watch it at a time when you feel like you are deeply rooted in yourself, so that the presence of the movie cannot really disturb you, because it's really deep and it's really, really wounding and tragic. I cried my eyes out after watching the movie. I think I cried this much only when I watched Call Me By Your Name. I watched that movie 9 times, and each time I found something new to cry about. But Grave of the Fireflies is, I think, of that level for me. Some other Studio Ghibli movies I would recommend you that I watched this year, all of which are, I would give them a solid 5 stars, is Only Yesterday. It's about this one little girl who reminisces about her past. She grew up in a city, she gets a job, she comes back to her own home, and she thinks about the time that she spent with her family, with her father, mother, with her sisters, how the little incidents used to bother her, trivialities, meanness. So she reminisces about her growing up as a child. And another movie that I would recommend is The Cat Returns. I'm not going to tell you what it is about, but the title is kind of self sufficient in itself. Another movie that you can watch is. Mm-mm-mm. Another movie that you can watch is. Did I talk about Whisper of the Heart? I think I talked enough. You can watch The Boy and the Heron. That's another movie that I watched this year and I loved it. Um, I think with that we are done. We are done with all the Studio Ghibli movies, right? Let's come to some other movies. So there's this movie called Kantara, right? I will put the poster right here. I don't know if you've watched Kantara or not. If you have not, please do, because it's some of the most fantastic cinematography and visual editing slash filming that you will ever happen to see in your life, because Kantara is one of those movies that will really shake you to the roots at the end of the movie. At the beginning, when I was watching the movie, because I have heard people rave so much about it, I was like, what can it be about? In the beginning, it was feeling a little trivial, not so essential, important. But when you get towards the end or middle of the movie, you really understand how a person can be completely possessed by the divine. You really get to see that. And towards the end of the movie, it feels like the actor is no longer acting. It's as if there is the God's presence, the demigod's presence is actually there in the actor. So please do watch that. I'd give it a solid, I would say, 4 out of 5. And I'm going to recommend you two more movies today because the video is already long enough as it is and I need to edit it also. So one of the movies that I watched this Durga Pujo, which I felt would not be that good but turned out to be really impactful socially, is Jolly LLB 3. Jolly LLB 3 is, I think the protagonist is Akshay Kumar, but there are other actors also. It's about this woman who is fighting for her land in Rajasthan against this cooperative company, um, or a very big Ambani like businessman who is trying to take her home to build a shopping mall and who is trying to make Rajasthan into an industrialized city. But this small village in Rajasthan is they're against the development, and um, so some terrific events kind of happen. And um, at the end of it, I think the last scene with which the movie ends, um, it's very impactful. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but the courtroom scenes are quite funny at the beginning, and at the end of the movie they are very impactful. I was seated in the theater for approximately 3-4 more minutes after the movie ended with my friends. I was sitting there. It was really good. It was really impactful. It really shows you how class discrimination works and how only a certain section of the society gets privilege and importance, while those that are down below are quite ignored. Yeah. So do watch that movie. Another movie, the last one that I'm going to talk about, is a 41-minute movie. Not exactly a movie, it's an Oscar winning documentary. And again, it would be probably the best documentary I have ever watched in my life. It's called The Elephant Whisperers. It's based in South India, and it just shows nothing but a man who has raised an elephant, a female elephant. He's grown so attached to the elephant, and vice versa. The elephant has grown so attached to this man, they are not willing to leave each other until the government comes in and separates them. It's such a heartwarming documentary and will make you cry at times, and it will make you go through all of life. In life, you go through love, you go through hate, you go through ups, you go through downs, you go through attachment, you go through detachment. There's so much that you go through in life, right? It will make you go through all of those in just a period of 41 minutes. And the cinematography and the filmography of the entire documentary is stunning. It is visually stunning. I made my mother watch this, and even she loved it. This is the one documentary that I'd rate 5 out of 5. These are all my recommendations for movies, part 1. There's still part 2. If you want to see that, please comment down below which ones you'd like to. I mean, whether you or not you'd like to see, I'll make it then. If I get about 20 comments asking for part 2, I will consider making it. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and please take care of your body, mind, and soul, because we are in a time where depression is on the rise. Um, in general, alienation, fragmentation, whatever T.S. Eliot wrote about is on the rise. So please do take care of your body, mind, and soul, and if possible, please do incorporate a little bit of meditation and yoga in your life. Thank you so much. Love you. Bye.